What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ring the Bell Phillies show. I kind of just decided to forego with the opening there and just go right
Shocked
into
me,
this.
bro.
Yeah,
I
I know.
wasn't
I
ready for
apologize.
it.
um, so guess what, everybody? Well, two things. The Phillies finally dropped the series, and Ranger Suarez finally lost a baseball game. So as the title of this week's show was, the Phillies week ends on a sour note in Colorado, up in the Rocky Mountains. The Phillies dropped 2 or 3 in Colorado Friday night and this afternoon. They they came really close to being swept in Colorado if it wasn't for a huge 6-run ninth inning Saturday night. But look, and I know Jason said this in our group thread, as did John. It's as if I don't really believe in trap games or trap series in baseball like you have in football and sports like that. But it was like one of those series where at the end of it, we're sitting here doing this show. The Phillies dropped 2 or 3 against Colorado. You kind of go, well, okay. They've been sitting at the top of the baseball mountain now for a month. Maybe this was just kind of due to happen. Um, Jay, your overall thoughts on the week and then dropping 2 or 3 in Colorado.
On the week, listen, we still went 4-2.
Yeah. Yep.
So you can't really be upset. And like you said, I know John said it, and then we all thought. I think most logical fans think, listen, we won 15 straight. We haven't lost 15 a series in 15 straight series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it was the perfect storm of weekend. I think even Friday night, getting through the Bryce thing early, they still had the lead.
Yep.
Alvarado kind of gave it up there at the end, and then Soto cost it, and then like so they should have won that game. When Saturday night they did make that nice comeback, and Bryce hitting the bombs, doing what he's doing, and then again it was one of those perfect storms where Ranger was kind of due. You expected at some point, he wasn't going to be as that phenomenal all year round, and it just happened to be in a weak series against Colorado where the bats they weren't putting up the runs you expected them to put up in Colorado.
Right. And that's the kind of series I looked at and I went, boy, there could be a lot of runs scored this weekend out in Colorado. But it was kind of that way on Saturday. But that's really it. The Phillies had won 11 series and they split 4 since dropping 2 or 3 to the Reds the first week of the season. But then you look at this past weekend, that they blew a ninth inning lead Friday night in an extra inning loss to the Rockies. They came back to win in the ninth inning last night, and then they fell behind rather quick Sunday afternoon. Ranger Suarez, allowed a 2-run shot to Ryan McMahon in that bottom of the first inning. You had the wind blowing. I think it was like up to 20 miles per hour from left field. So, the ball just was carrying today in Coors Field. And then after that, man, Suarez walked 4 batters in a 3-run second inning that included just 1 hit. So, again, we say this all the time, man. I don't care if my pitcher is getting rocked by hits. When you just keep walking dudes, bad things are going to happen. And that's what did Ranger in on Sunday. He entered the game 9-0 with a 1.36 ERA, leading Major League Baseball with a 0.79 whip. He was looking to become, it sucks that this didn't happen, but he was looking to become the first Philly ever to win 10 consecutive starts.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
so
never
now
been done.
never been done.
Listen, he's going to go get the next 10 in a row.
He better. I mean, I'll take 19-1.
The one positive take from this, and it's you look at it for prior years, and I think that this is where me and you have said it in the past years that April's so important, and
yeah, man.
I know we're at the end of May, but May's very important, and for them to, and listen, I guess you're hearing all the critics and. They took care of an easy schedule. Well, when you do that, games like this series, they don't seem as devastating because you're not needing to play catch up. you lose a series against Colorado at the end of May right now, and you're still 6 games up in the division. So I think that's where this hot start, and everybody, in the past years upset because we didn't start hot. Now everybody complaining this year because we're starting hot and
Right.
we're beating bad teams. But that's
Right.
the positive to that. That's this type of start. So that's where, like, I'm still
Exactly.
encouraged, I think the series is. I think if you break it down, like, a lot of things went wrong for the Phillies this weekend. So I don't really
Yeah.
look at it as we got outplayed. It was just a bad set of series.
Mhm.
We got another 2 series this week against poor teams. So I've all believe that they're going to rebound and have a very, very big week.
Oh, for sure. And like, I'm not going to come here and just pile on Ranger because he retired the final 13 batters he faced, and he did get through 6 innings, which was, important. They preserved the bullpen, because Taiwan is starting tomorrow on Memorial Day. Spencer Turnbull, who's the only true long man in the pen, had the 9th inning Saturday. And has never pitched back-to-back days as a pro. You got Jose Ruiz, who's gone 2 innings twice this month, pitch Friday and Saturday. And we all know Topper rarely uses relievers 3 days in a row. So look, it was just one of those weekends. And you are right. You can't harp on a great April enough when it comes to a weekend like this, Jay. You got the 38 and 16 Phillies. God, how terrible they are. It's and now you go into a 3-game set against the 500, the 27 and 27 Giants, and you got Taiwan, you got Zach Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez pitching for the Phils, and then the Giants have lefties scheduled for the series opener, and Blake Snell, who's been getting tanked since he's even picked up a baseball in San Francisco. And then in the finale, Kyle Harrison will be pitching as well. We don't know who's pitching Tuesday, but again, this is one of those weekends also where we thought that the ball was just going to carry, and that they were going to literally, and in the words of Topper, slug their way through Colorado. And that just didn't happen. And again, like Jay has said already, it's okay. It's a 162 game marathon here. You're going to have these weekends. And obviously it's abnormal when the Phillies had won their, 15 straight series of either winning or tie, or, if they had a 4-game set going 2 for 2, but 15 straight winning or tied series for this team up until this weekend. It's their longest streak since 1983-84 season. Man, it was just great streak. I mean, let's start a new one and do it again, right? So, but overall, Jay, what were your thoughts on the week? Like you said, they went 4-2. It's a great
Yeah, when
week.
you
It's
sweep
a good week,
Texas,
man.
the funny thing,
Yeah,
John, right before, we haven't beaten Texas since,
sweep them.
since what, I guess George Washington was president. So it's like, okay, like, we get it. You come
Right.
in and, you sweep them. And Ranger looked, good to start the series,
Mm-hmm.
and the start of the pitching looked very, very good that series. So, but the bats were awake, and you're going to have down series. I know, like, that's where when I don't care if we beat bad teams. Listen, you need to. You're going to beat a lot of bad teams. You said it before. There's probably 3 or 4 top tier teams right now in the league. So, and all the teams, I sent the stat out there. If you look at all the teams, the top like 7 teams in baseball, the teams they've played have a combined win percentage of below 400.
Yeah, man.
So there's a lot of bottom feeding right now, but it makes these type of series easier to deal with. And I said, they're not playing bad. It's not like everybody got cold. They're not playing, and I still don't think they're playing bad.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's okay. Yeah, this is one of these. You still got to be happy. I'm just. You can't be upset at 38 and 16 right now. Still 6 games up. You're a game and a
I
half
know.
up at best team in
Yep.
baseball. There's really not much to complain about.
And we can kind of bring it up now because it just happened today, and you don't wish injury on anybody. But as it stands right now, the Phillies do hold a 6-game lead over the Atlanta Braves, who may have lost Ronald Acuna for at least a little while. Ronald Acuna left the Braves 8-1 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates in the first inning on Sunday with left knee soreness on a non-contact play.
But
Um,
while you say that, what year did they win the World Series?
What's that, 20?
That was the year Ronald Acuna got hurt and needed
I
that
know.
surgically knee
Yeah,
repaired. So
you're
it's I
right.
hope it's not switching up and on us. But yeah, that didn't look good at all. You
No,
figure that looked pretty serious the way he went down today.
it did. Acuna led off that inning with a double to right center field. Acuna started toward third on a stolen base attempt, and his left knee, apparently, from the looks of it, just completely gave way. Acuna remained down for several minutes, pointing to his left leg before walking off under his own power. He was wearing a knee brace in the clubhouse in post game. Said he'd have an MRI Sunday night. Expects to be placed on that 10-day injured list. He did say he got scared because he felt the pain in the beginning, which he said he felt it was the same pop that he had heard a few years ago when he hurt his knee. So, look, of course, a Braves team without Ronnie Acuna is a team that, the Phillies can continue to gain, to just add their leverage to. But again, don't like seeing dudes go down like that, especially superstars in this league. You don't like seeing superstars go down, which is so rough. But
The good thing about it right now, and listen, you're right. I don't want to see
yeah,
anybody get hurt.
right.
But the Braves are losing a lot of people and they ain't got backups no more. That farm system ain't as deep as it used to be, guys.
No, nope.
You
They
ain't got
kind
no
of
more Austin
raided
Riley's
that,
coming
man.
up. Yeah,
Nope.
once that's and that's the only positive. Like, and I hate it. You're right. You never want to see somebody get hurt. You never want to hope for injury. But it's beautiful when they ain't got more Ozzy Obby
Yes.
is coming up and no Austin
Yep.
Riley's certain like all those dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's nice to see they don't have backups at this point.
Yeah. Welcome to our life, Atlanta Braves.
Yeah,
Welcome,
for the last.
welcome to our life. The last 15 years, where there's just no one else to bring up. So we look at it now. The Phillies have a 3-game set coming up this week against the San Francisco Giants. They're off on Thursday, which sometimes seems shocking to me. And then they have a 3-game set against the St. Louis Cardinals, and they have the Brewers and the Mets the following week. But as we get into June, man, it's where you got the Brewers here, the Red Sox, the Orioles, Diamondbacks, Padres.
It gets tough before that All-Star break. It does.
It does.
That schedule starts to. So we'll by the All-Star break, we'll know what type of team we have.
Right before the All-Star break, man, they have a 3-game set against the Braves and then a 3-gamer against the Dodgers. So that's going to be
yeah, you're gonna know
for sure, absolutely. Kind of backing up in the week a little bit, the 3-game sweep against the Texas Rangers, Jay. That was something, man. Like that was one of those things where we heard just the nonstop bullshit talk about where the Phillies beat a team above 500 going in or at 500 or better going into that series. The Rangers were 500. The Phillies just laid waste to them. What was were you kind of like one of those things where thank God we could shove this narrative up someone's ass for this one because the Phillies finally take care of a team?
Because once we swept them, they're not a 500 team anymore. So it's like, it's
yeah.
Come on.
Right.
Listen, they're the defending World Series champions. No, however you want to slice it and dice it.
That's right.
When you go and you sweep the defending World Series champions, again, continuing to play well like you do.
Yep.
It's just, Ranger pitched great that first game. The pitching looked well. The bats were alive. That's what you want to see. These guys are having fun. They're playing great ball right now. And it makes it shocking when you actually lose a series to Colorado. It makes, it's in the past, you're like, oh, we kind of figured it's the Phillies. But now you're like, oh, wow, you're shocked. So the faith and belief I just think we should still have in this team, it's up there because they're playing great. They're still playing great. They're still 7-3 in their last 10 games. So
yeah, how terrible they are. So look, and I also kind of want to go over a little bit, and I want to kind of talk about the umpires, which is something I never do. But I know you guys were just talking about it in the thread. I just saw it as I was walking in my front door tonight before streaming this live. Bryce Harper gets ejected in the first inning the other day look, I've watched that video 3 or 4 times now. Bryce is clearly just standing there, having a conversation about the at bat, and the umpire tosses him. It was stunning to me. And, I even tweeted about it saying it's just another one of those occurrences where umpires in today's day and age of baseball tries to make it about them as if they are that much of importance in the game of baseball.
I just don't get why they allow it, because that's a situation where, it's late in the season. I don't know if they make that same call, but late in the season, throwing out, the bet, top 3 player in the game, you're throwing them out of a game, that can mean something. So it's insane that they're able to do that and no repercussions. Oh, because he said something, because he's questioning a call for me. Like I get to throw him out of it and make the difference in a game. It's crazy. It's just not, it's not the way the game should be. It's like you said, they're making too much about themselves and not about the product.
Yeah, and we're having a lot of problems like watching these games, and it goes both ways. So when I complain right now, just know what I'm saying is it goes both ways. They're not going to get this robot, umpire thing. I mean, we're probably at least 3 years away from that even coming into the league. I just don't know I still think it's going to be even longer than that. I have a hard time believing Major League Baseball is going to officially make.
I'd love it. I honestly would. If you have the technology, I always thought, if you have the technology, like, why not allow, like, what a strike zone, like they have, because the strike zone they use, I believe they said it's the accumulation of the umpire strike zone over the last so many games. So like, where a strike zone is at this point. They have the technology. Why not allow them to use it? Because you see too many, Angel Hernandez type of calls that are very, terrible for a game. You have instant replay. Like I get there's an old school thought with baseball, and nobody wanted the clock. But I think at a point now, if you have the technology there, I could tell if a dude check swings by the video camera. I know where a strike is from there. Like I know when the guy caught the ball, all these things. So why not utilize what's there to make the game a better product? Because I'd much rather not see a game get blown in the World Series because of a bad call. If they're going to complain, if it's an umpire, well, that's, where the strike zone is. It tells you where it is every time. It's the same. It doesn't change.
I agree. So let me I don't want to say it's devil's advocate, but look, baseball umpires have been doing the same thing for over 100 years, right? They are, the strike zone hasn't changed in that time. Do you think that we have such a problem with umpires nowadays because of the social media era, where we can overanalyze and really dig into what the strike, these strikes that are being called? Can we really sit here and honestly say, Jay, that the strike zone is worse than it's ever been? These umpires are terrible. But if we go back and watch games in the 90s on YouTube, we might see the exact same thing. So what do you think is the issue now? What has caused such a heightened, I want to say, obsession now with these balls and strikes? Do you think it's because we can just see it more and maybe it is really happening, or 2, because we know in the back of our minds that the robot strike zone is there?
I think it's technology. It really is. But, when you look at it, when we grew up watching football and baseball, they didn't have the instant replay stuff. You really couldn't do stuff like that. And even going back watching a game on TV, it was blurry. You can't always see everything. The way the technology's advanced to today's game, you know exactly where that pitch is. You can see to where they stop that bat swing and all. So I think that is what it is. And like you said, that robo okay, that pitch, that's 3 inches outside. I think they had it this year. It's funny because they have the worst balls called, and I think like the second worst was like 4.2. And then I think Angel Hernandez was like 6.8.
Really bad.
Oh, yeah. But I think it eliminates all of that. Like, where it's going to be. So I think that's where it is. Like, okay, that, especially when it's against your team. When we've seen Bryce Harper strike out on a bad pitch, like, man, if you got a robo one, that's ball 4. Changes the game. So I think that's where a lot of people see that and want that, because they know 100% where it is and where it isn't.
Right. And look, and like I said already, this goes both ways. We watch it against the Phillies, we see it help the Phillies, or it's all around baseball, and it's one of the biggest topics of the entire sport over the last couple years. As soon as Major League Baseball announced that they were testing the AI strike zone, this is what's it's been now. It's almost as if, it's the Phillies versus it's a Major League Baseball team versus a Major League Baseball team. Oh, and the umpires we're going to pay attention to as well. So
Well,
it's become what umpires never should be. It's a distraction.
if you want to have the compromise, the one rule I think I really did like with the minors, and I think if you want to keep, if you want to keep true umpires, I like where they have that rule where you can I guess challenge a pitcher, challenge the pitch.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
I I do like that if you have it, you get one or two a game where you understand, you have to save it for certain moments. If you don't use it, whatever, but
Especially for a
I'd like
check
that
swing.
rule. Yes, it's something like that. I would be okay with them adding that before
I
going
agree.
100% to the 100% umpire. I would like to see how that plays out and if that can change it up a little bit. But also, I think Major League umpire they need to do something with the umpires and start disciplining them because you don't
I
really
agree
hear
with
much
you.
about it. Like benching them for the playoffs isn't a big enough incentive for
No.
me to not, suck during the regular season,
Yeah.
especially when you've been there long enough. Like, so we see some of these guys that are the tenured guys that just seem to not
Mhm.
care as much and have
For
bad strike
sure.
zones where you see it all the time and the data backs it up at this point. So you
Right.
got to do something if you're Major League Baseball with it to the bad ones because I don't think it's gotten worse over the years. And to that question, no, I
I agree
think
with
it's
you.
still the same. I don't. I. It's just all of that stuff added into it. We can see it more clearly now.
The problem is, I think what we said is, has it gotten worse? No, but the problem is it hasn't gotten better. That's the issue. When you see like the NFL after each season analyzes their referees, and you do notice a lot more often now during football games that the officiating, I think, has gotten better. They're not calling these. I mean, obviously some more than others, but you're not seeing these insanely bogus calls all the time like we were seeing a few years ago in the NFL in every single NFL game. It just seems like in Major League Baseball, the officiating is progressively maybe on a downslide here. There's no improvement. So I think you're right. There has to be higher disciplinary action taken. For the longest time in all these years in pro sports, if you criticize officiating, then you get fined. Why? Why am I not allowed to criticize after the fact? I understand if I argue balls and strikes in the middle of an at bat, you're getting tossed. There should be nothing stopping me after the game has been played to say absolutely that umpire screwed it. He messed it up completely. There should be nothing wrong with criticize. If you're allowed to be
Stating the fact.
criticized
If
for
it's the stating the fact,
exactly,
yeah. If I
boom,
know he missed a call because I can go in the locker room and I could
yep,
see that pitch, I could see that curveball missed the
yep,
zone by 6 inches. Then yeah, I'm allowed to say that is a
correct,
major call. Like I get no one play changes. No one play is really going to change the game. You have 9 innings. It shouldn't make that big of an outcome. But
right.
in sports and especially in championship games, it does. So those type of moments now that you can see it so much more clearly, yes, I should be able to. That's a big moment. He struck my dude out with bases loaded. Like that ball's clearly a ball. Like that's where I think a challenge system might be good for that in baseball.
I agree with you totally. So we'll see what's going to be happening the rest of the year. But to wrap things up here, um, Bryce Harper, as we were just talking about, which led into our umpire conversation. What he's been doing, dude, he's pacing right now for 40 home runs and 125 RBIs, which is another MVP like season.
I just remember
Um,
somebody wanting him traded.
I don't even know who the hell would ever say that. It damn sure could not have been me. Over the last week, he's hitting 360 with that 430 on base percentage. Over the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 305 with that 373 OBP. And over his last month, Mr. Bryce Harper is hitting 310 with a 420 on base percentage. So, Jay, this is pretty much what we're getting over the last 2 weeks, I'd say. Um, I think that's pretty much right where we expect him to be in that 300 batting average and on base of at or over 400. Are you getting, everything that you expect at a Bryce right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did want the average a little higher, but listen, his last 26 games, he's 7 home runs, 24 RBIs, has 20 walks, batting 298, on base over 400, slugging over 500, OPS near 1,000. So he's doing everything you want. The power's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be happy. He's leading this team. Trey's not there, and
Mm-hmm.
Harper was slumping early, and now Harper's really picking it back up, and it's been great to see that that slump early on, starting the season 0 for 11. He's back to that Bryce Harper that can carry a team when he needs to, and you know what? Listen, he hit that big home run Saturday night.
Oh yeah,
he's back to being that guy, and it just can only get better. Once Trey gets back. This kid, weather's going to heat up soon. It's going to be heating up soon. Listen, once he hits 95, 100 out there, that ball's going to be flying out of the park.
I agree. So looking also another guy here who's still hitting the ball relatively well. Alec Boehm, dude, over the last week is hitting 233. He's getting on base at a 219 clip. Over his last 2 weeks, a 262 batting average at a 286 on base percentage. That bat's cooling off over the last 2 weeks. He's not getting on base much. Any room for concern there about Alec Boehm cooling off a little bit too much?
No, it's he's going to have the slumps because I listen. He was a lot hotter than I expect. I
agree.
We all thought he's a 310 hitter. He could be a 310. That's all the people have told us since he came up. So I think it's going to drop some. Over his last month, I still think he's batting 290 over his last month. I'm not super concerned.
320.
Yeah, so he's going to have these ebbs and flows throughout the season. He's going to have it, and listen, we go week to week. That's kind of how we judge. So, he's going to have a tough week, but I 1,000%, the one thing you'd love to see the power numbers, but I don't think that's who he is. But
I think you're right.
Listen, even in his last month, he's got, 2 home runs, but he's got 26 RBIs. So he's doing what he needs to be doing.
Yep.
He's in that 4 hole. That's what we said last season. Before we started this season, I think we discussed it. I think we all agreed he's got to be the 4 hole for this team to really be productive, especially after what we saw against Arizona last year. And boy, is he doing what we need him to do.
Man, I agree. And I will also say another, I don't want to say problem, because obviously when Trey Turner gets back, he's going to be back in that 2 hole. JT Realmuto, dude, is making that decision. Yeah, I know, jerk off. JT Realmuto is making every decision for the Phillies lineup real difficult, man. JT over the last week, 333 batting average, a 355 clip on base. His last 15 games, JT Realmuto is batting 370 with a 405 on base percentage. And over his last month, 30 games, JT's hitting 300 with a 337 on base percentage. So, for one of the worst catchers in baseball, it's pretty insane, the offensive numbers. And I did look it up. He's still awful with runners in scoring position. I think he's hitting like under 200. But still, listen, give me my starting catcher of the last month hitting 300, getting on base at a 340 clip. You're
Let
the
me
best
ask
catcher
you a
in the
question,
world.
though.
Go ahead.
How much of that has to do because you go from hitting, in front of Nick Castellanos, who's batting 200, to getting a hit in front of Bryce Harper? Listen, I get it. I understand, but the type of pitches you're going to see are going to be a little bit better.
Correct. And I think that's a big deal. And I guess from a JT point, it's very clear he's very comfortable in that spot. And that's huge. I mean, the thing is now, Jay, when Turner gets back, which, geez, I don't know anything, but the way it's being made out to us is he might be back in a week. So if he gets back here by next weekend against the Cardinals, do you slot?
No.
Do you just put JT?
Trey goes back to 2. Trey
no,
goes
that's what I mean.
to 2. JT
and then where
goes.
do you put JT? 6?
No, I put him. Who we have? Who's
I mean, if
consistently at
Bohm's
5 now?
4, Stott.
Okay, and then I put him at 6. I put him at 6, 1,000%. And
Okay.
listen, I think it's going to go down. Is he going to be the guy? And then I know you're going to hear John and all the other people, but you can't realistically 1,000%. There's no way that Schwarber's moving off of leadoff. So
Correct.
the question about Trey moving out of 2 is not going to happen. So there's no reason to discuss it. So you're just going to have to deal with the JT average dropping a little bit if it does. That's really where we're at this point, because the other conversation doesn't mean anything at this point.
Yeah, I agree. But I will say, though, let's kind of talk about Kyle Schwarber for a second. Over the last week, 333 batting average, 485 on base percentage. Over his last 15 games, Jay, Kyle Schwarber, 275, 426. Over his last month, 30 games, 241, 375 on base clip. The dude is
okay. Over his last 25 games, he has 2 home runs.
That was so. My next question to you was going to be, where is the power outage coming from? And is that something to be concerned about? Or because he's your leadoff hitter, he's also got 15 walks in his last 2 weeks. He's getting on base.
Gotten on base. But listen, on the season, for this team to be successful, he is getting on base at a 350 clip. He's got 9 home runs. He's also has 71 strikeouts. Like, he is what he is. I don't want, we're seeing a lot more of single Schwarber this year.
Yeah.
But I think for this team to be effective, we need him hitting bombs. Like, we need 40 home runs. Like, I get it. I think he could still do that. I think once the weather starts picking up, I do think those numbers are going to increase. But I also think he can hit better. Like, I do think there's a correlation with his home run numbers being down and him, his average being up and him being on base more. I do believe that's true. But at what point is he just, listen, I'm Schwarberfest and I'm going to go out and eat hoagies and hit bombs,
Yep. Understood. All right, guys, that wraps us up here. As before we get out of here, as always, we have 6 games coming up this week: 3 against San Francisco, 3 against the St. Louis Cardinals. Jay, what are you looking at this week? What are your expectations and predictions here?
Expectations, nothing below 4-2.
I agree.
I do think 5-1. I do think they'll lose one in there.
I agree.
I just think, I think a 5-1 week. I think they keep rolling. It's not the best of competition still, and I still think they're going to feast. And the bats are going to get hot again. I think they're just going to keep where they're at. So 5-1. I expect a very good week.
Hey, look, I'll take 43-17 with next Sunday night, right? Give me that all day. All right, so that wraps up another week of the Ring the Bell show here on the RTB Philly Sports Network. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, which we obviously hope you are, but if you're watching anywhere else, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, look, I don't care where you watch, just keep watching. I really do appreciate it. The amount of views that, we're getting across every platform is awesome. So, if you are on YouTube, like this video, like all of our videos, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications when we're going live or when a new video just drops. Anyway, head over to SeatGeek.com right now. Use our code RINGTHEBELL for $20 off your very first ticket purchase. Head over to Manscaped.com right now as well. Father's Day is coming up, guys. There's a perfect gift there waiting for you. Manscaped.com. Use our code BASEBALL20 for 20% off and free shipping over at Manscaped.com. Jay, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate you joining me here as always tonight. It's always fun when the OGs are on here taking care of business. But we're going to check out here. We should be back here Thursday. The Phillies are maybe even Wednesday night. We'll see how it goes. But the Phillies are off on Thursday, so we actually get to have a midweek show for you again. So very much looking forward to another show this week. So 2 shows. See you guys either Wednesday night or Thursday. And then again, normally
definitely won't be a Sunday night show. Well, unless you do it late.
I mean, I don't think I'll be doing a Sunday night show either.
We'll see. I'll probably. I gotta decide. I gotta figure out if I'm going to the game over still. I don't know. It's late.
That it's
Tough.
late. Yes,
Tough.
it is.
when you're a working man, now I'm old.
Yep.
Those late night games are tough.
Yep. If everyone having a Memorial Day party tomorrow, take a little sip of beer for the working man, Jason, over here. So, all right. So for Jason Ken, I'm Christy Francesco, and we'll catch you guys down the road. Thank you very much. Have a tremendous Memorial Day holiday. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. And of course, go Phils.